our first guest of the year, Carl?
First guest of the year.
We had Mike a couple times last year. One of my buddies is very, very into the NFL, and he spends probably 18 hours on Sundays just watching NFL. He, I think, is pretty into betting on NFL games. He knows a shit ton about football, so we asked him to come chat about everything. He is kind of a Seahawks fan, but he also is very negative towards how the Seahawks are currently being run in terms of Pete Carroll and his scheming. So it's always an interesting conversation having on. But Matt, man, we've known each other for like fucking 2 weeks, and we're 2 podcasts in. I love
There you
it.
go.
2 podcasts and a dead deal in, I guess, right?
Let's leave that out of there.
Yeah. No. I mean, I was always brought up when I was younger. My dad always said you got to cheer for the team that's close to you. And living in Vancouver, your closest NFL team was Seattle.
Yeah.
So I've seen the pitfalls, and like you say, Pete Carroll. I think he's over scheming right now. And you look at that. Look at a couple of those games they should have won. Like,
I have a lot of thoughts on Pete. We'll get into him a little bit. Where did your Seahawks love start? When you were a little kid? Start watching football? Did you play football growing up?
I did. Yeah, I played high school.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to Frank Hurt in Surrey.
We
So
beat the
played there.
piss out of you guys in grade 12.
What school?
St. Thomas More.
Oh no, I don't think you played us.
Well,
You're
you're probably
thinking
a
of-
few years old. I played Frank Hurt for sure. Maybe in junior or grade
Maybe.
11. I
Yeah.
can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we did convert from AAA to AA, and that was probably it. Because we had a very early program going on, and they wanted to have us AAA,
Oh,
and that was like probably 1998ish.
okay.
But it was, we went back to AA. But yeah, no, I started playing football there. Of course, it's a team game, and you meet all your buddies, and
Yeah.
you play the community set, and you just, you go on and try and go to college, or, obviously the dream to go NFL was never there. But when you're playing, you follow, all the colleges, and you watch the Saturday football games after your game. And that was kind of the gist of my career down there, or down playing football. And then, Monday nights were, after practice, the coaches would say, okay, come on down to the, I guess, the IT wing, where we would have one of our coaches set up, and we'd watch Monday Night Football
Sweet.
and make burgers outside. It was awesome. Good fun.
The first Seahawks game, I didn't really have an NFL team when I was in high school. I played high school football too.
Oh, yeah, that's right. St. Thomas More, you said.
Yeah. And in I think it was grade 10, I was 15 years old. My brothers took me to the playoff game, the divisional game or the wild card game, I think, against the Dallas Cowboys. That was the game that Romo fumbled the snap
Oh,
with like 40 seconds left or something.
and tried to run it in.
Yes.
Yeah.
And got tackled on the 1.
Yes.
And the Hawks won by 1 that game.
Yeah, and that would have been, that
That
was,
environment just like lit a fire into me, man. And I was so in on Seahawks football for the remainder of my life. And I will be forever.
what a
But
game.
like that was the beginning of falling in love with the Seahawks and just the crowd and that stadium and the environment. It was nuts.
Yeah, because that would have been what you said that was your grade 10?
Grade 10, I think that was 2004.
Okay. So
I think it's
that would have
2004. That was Matt Hasselbeck,
Matt Hasselbeck.
and Sean Alexander
been-
and Jordan Babineau. I
Mhm.
think was the guy who made the tackle on Romo. He
Babs.
was the safety, I think.
Yes. That was quite Romo still talks about that every now and
Oh,
then. He
man.
brings up that. And obviously when they show highlights of Seattle in the playoff runs, that one always seems to come up. That and another infamous short pass. We won't talk about that one, but that I have to admit, like I had season tickets. We got them probably 2010ish, I want to say. But even before that, like I got introduced when it was Matt Hasselbeck era, and totally crushed on his wife. That was the host of The View, the Castaway or whatever she was, or the Survivor finalist. Can't remember her name.
I don't know who that is.
Elizabeth Hasselbeck, I think it was.
Okay.
Yeah, she hosted The View with all the girls go on and talk.
It's not a show I frequent.
No, neither did I. But when you're crushing, you see her on TV every day. There's only one way to watch her.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it was Hasselbeck era. Sean Alexander, that was my favorite running back. The team was just so, it was so, I don't know, it's easy to watch. The Seahawks were not as hated then. Like, no one was really hating on them. It was just a team trying to find their way, it found like. And then all of a sudden, Matt Hasselbeck goes down, Charlie Whitehurst comes in, and that's kind of when I had my season ticket. So that's probably the 2009 or 2009, 2010 seasons.
It's interesting that nobody hates you when you suck, right?
No.
But they got good for a few years when it was Hasselbeck and Alexander.
Mm-hmm.
Lost in the Super Bowl that one year. And then they've been very good for a decade, really. Obviously won a Super Bowl, lost another one.
Mm-hmm.
We won't talk about that.
But the win was, if you look back at that game, like, it wasn't even that exciting against Denver.
It wasn't.
I remember with my buddy, we were at the bar watching it, and it was like, I think Denver had the first ball, like the ball of the game. And then that was when the Peyton Manning, I guess, buffed the snap and it went back for a safety.
Yeah, right away.
And it was like, oh my God, we're on the board. Like, we had to do nothing there.
Yeah.
And then it was like a couple touchdowns later and they had that game like wrapped up in the first quarter.
Dominated.
Yeah.
What was the final score? 41-3 or something? 41-6?
It was something weak, but it was like, it wasn't as exciting, And you just knew the team was exciting at that time because you had the Legion of Boom and,
man,
it was a good era. That's probably my favorite era, to be honest.
It might go down as the best era of Seahawks football in Seahawks history.
Yeah.
You have who is going to be the all-time best quarterback in franchise history, Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You had Marshawn Lynch, who was maybe the best character that any sports franchise has had of all time.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's unreal, hilarious. And you had one of the best defenses in NFL history, man.
Has there been a secondary that's been able to compete with the Legion of Boom?
Those guys were so good, man.
Yeah.
So good.
Not that we can recall like in the last few years because, New England always had a good defense, but not quite the same as that caliber, right?
They were one of the best defenses in the league for like 5 or 6 years straight, which is so hard to do, man. In the NFL with so many injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that secondary, man.
As good as it was when it was ending, though, it didn't just end like on a soft note. It was Cam Chancellor gets knocked out with like a near-ending career neck injury. Earl Thomas like shatters his leg and fingers
the crowd
on the way out. Like, it wasn't a good ending by any stretch for a classy, hard-hitting, they were they were so exciting to watch, like the offensive side, but you just knew the D would get you the ball back if you were, on the offensive side, right? Like,
it's interesting that you bring up the word classy because in my head, I think those position players are rarely associated with classy, right? Guys in the NFL that are good interviews are usually quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
And who else?
Yeah.
Right? Like guys on defense, they get paid $10 million a year to just bash people's heads in, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So would you assume they'd leave quietly? Probably not.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Like, same with Richard Sherman, like his interviews after the game were so funny because he would just swear at people and tell them they suck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
So truthful.
But then he would back it up and then his, cockiness, swagger would come out and, no one would target the receiver the next game. Like, he wouldn't get thrown on, right? Like, yeah, no. So here's a funny thing. So I had season tickets. My dad and I got them. He had a diagnosis and we had never been to an NFL game. And so I said, okay, Dad, let's forget a single game. Let's get season tickets because they were cheap at the time and you could get them. So we had them for a couple years. Went to our very first game, and the home game was just insane. Like, they had the Red Bull bombers jump out of the plane over the arena, and then they just parachuted right into the stadium. The whole crowd goes nuts, and that was my first experience of a Seahawks game. And we had Charlie Whitehurst was the starting quarterback, and it was a bad season. But the games, the atmosphere were so much fun. And we think we had them for 2 years, and I was like, this Russell Wilson guy gets drafted. They're totally rebuilding. I'm not renewing these tickets. And the first game that we would have went to would have been the Green Bay Packers game when is it a catch or isn't it?
I went to that game.
Oh my!
Yeah,
The
that
replacement refs.
That was it.
Yeah,
That was it.
Yeah.
And that was the very first game we gave up our tickets for. And I'm sitting here and I'm like watching on TV. I'm like, Dad, what the hell did we do? And I went to call my rep the next day because he had us for like 3-4 years. And he's like, yeah, no, there's like about a 5,000 weight lifts right now for them. And I was like, overnight? He's like, yeah, that game with Russell Wilson and how he came out and performed, Seahawks fans are excited again. And I'm like,
Did you put your name back on the list?
I did. I think I'm like
You're-
75,428 in line right now.
Oh, so you just recently put it back?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
because I put my name on the list like 2 or 3 years ago, and I think I got an email at the beginning of the season telling me I was like 71 or 72,000.
Oh, so you're way back still.
Way back.
Oh, yeah. That's,
I'll get season tickets when I'm 65.
yeah.
Like,
It'll be a generational thing now.
You know what? Who knows though? Because when Wilson leaves, and whether he plays the rest of his career or not in Seattle, who knows? But he's 31, 32, whatever.
Is he? I think he's 33.
I thought he was a year younger than me for some reason. Carl's gonna find out. He's 10 year. This is his 10th year in the league. So when will he start?
So 20.
Yeah, maybe he's 33.
32. He says 32.
32.
November.
Okay.
Okay.
So
So he just turned maybe.
he just signed a 4-year contract. This year was number 1, so he's got 3 more years.
Yeah.
Even if he plays out that contract, when he leaves, it's a crapshoot, right? Like the NFL draft, you can look back at the last 5 years of who the NFL has drafted in the first round as quarterbacks, and most of them don't pan out, right? You're kind of taking a shot in the dark with a guy like Russ in the 3rd round, like Seattle got him, right? But like the Jags guy, Trevor Lawrence, has been very mediocre in his first year.
Yep.
This guy on the Bears, Fields, has been pretty mediocre.
Yeah.
A lot of them just don't amount to superstars in the NFL. So I'm guessing that there's going to be some growing pains after Russ leaves.
Well, it's the whole run game. Like people know to watch and spy on the quarterback now, right? Because like I went to that Arizona Cardinals San Fran game a couple weeks ago, and Trey Lance was replacing Garoppolo there, and the kid he ran. He was like 21 years old, first NFL start. He ran I think 80 yards in the game, but I'm telling you, like the kid can throw too, but he was getting licked. Like he was getting hit. Like so. You got to think like longevity wise, like Russ is going to start to, I think, have aches and pains because he's gotten also licked in his 10-year career.
He's so good at avoiding contact though. Like when he does get out of the pocket and run, he always will give up a yard to go down and not get hit, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas guys like, we talk about this almost weekly on the podcast, guys like Cam Newton, RG3, Lamar Jackson, those guys, they're running backs in their head, right?
Yeah.
They think they need to get 7 yards per carry versus Russell Wilson is a quarterback. He's just a very smart dude. And he understands that the team only wins if he is healthy and he needs to be healthy. So give up 2 yards.
Because we can see that right now.
A lot of the rookie quarterbacks learn that the hard way.
It's so dumb, man. Like why is no one telling these guys that?
I'm sure they've told them. It's just when you're on the stage, right? I think you just feel invincible, right?
You just don't realize how hard these guys hit, how big they are, right?
But Lamar's like, what, is he in his 4th year now?
I think so, yeah. 4th or 5th.
He could be a really good quarterback if he just figured out how to not get hit so hard.
Well, that's one thing I like. Remember when Ricky Williams used to play? He used to say, he'd always be like, yeah, he goes, I like being running back. He's like, but I would have a longer career if I just avoided the tackles. Right?
Yeah, totally.
And it's like, he's not wrong. Like, he's not wrong at all. And I mean, talk about an outspoken individual there. But yeah, I do think we're going to see some serious growing pains here when Russ is gone.
That's what I think. Like if that happens and we have like a 5-year losing streak that we don't make the playoffs for 5 years in a row or something like that, I feel like that season ticket holder list will move pretty quickly.
Especially when Russ, heaven forbid he either leaves or retires. But I think him being in that position, I think we will lose a lot right there.
If they don't make the playoffs this year, do you think Russell Wilson asked for a trade?
No, I don't, because he's the type of guy who would honor a contract like that. Like he's, when he came into the league, he was very I wouldn't say not spiritual the word, but he's very he's I don't know what religion he practices, but he's very much like in God and
Yeah.
you know, believing in himself and where he is. And I think when him and Sierra started getting together, I think he kind of got a bit more swagger and a bit more cockiness behind him. But I still think like he's still that, you know, embodies a person who would honor something that they committed to, unless he was let go.
I heard
But then he could be asked to be let go, and then the media doesn't spin it that Russ wants to leave, and that could be behind closed doors.
totally. We trash talk a lot of the NFL analysts on this podcast regularly because most of them have no idea what they're talking about. But one guy said something, and it's an interesting comment that I've thought about a lot, and I don't necessarily disagree, is that Seattle is ruining one of the greatest primes in NFL history. And obviously that's Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
He's a really good quarterback. He hasn't had an offensive line for 70% of his career. He's had the worst defense in the league for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So at what point does a guy who is potentially, you know, he's probably a Hall of Famer already. At what point does he just be like, look, I want to win more Super Bowls. I got to get out of here. He's 33, 32, 33. He probably has 4 good years left. 4 or 5, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you talk about that O-line. Like, I used to watch and just like almost throw stuff on my TV as we watch this running back get, 7 yards here with all his linemen behind him. But like Justin Britt, the center that we used to have for so many years, would literally snap the ball and stand up and guys would run right by him.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, and he'd be brought back and he'd be brought back. And no offense to Justin Britt if he's listening, of course, because it's not an easy task to play in the NFL. But I'm like, how do you have a job after these, like missing your block over and over and over and over again? Like, and that's just one of them. Like, you could go into Jermaine Ifedi. You can go into a couple of other ones that were just here for a season and gone. But like, if you compare Seattle's money on offensive line, I think they always rank like 27th and down, right? Like they're never up there.
Yeah.
Whereas like New England Patriots are top 5 when Brady was there. Like I think they were top 1 and 2. They flip flop, but you pay your players and you get the players you pay for. And I think that's where with Russell, he may say, hey, look, I want to trade. What is it going to take? We'll keep you here. We'll keep you here. Like we'll pay you to stay. Like I think that's what's going to happen is they'll just keep paying him.
He signed a big contract though this season for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
like highest paid, I think, in the league until
was it this year or last year? Maybe last year. I can't remember, Carl. Maybe he's
like
got 2 years left. So maybe he's got 2 years left after this season.
I think it's I think a 32 mil a year.
I think he was 40.
40 a year?
I think it was 40. I think it was what's the math?
It's colossal.
It was 4
like it's
years.
big.
Yeah. 160 million 4 years. Does that work into 40? I think it's something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then like 2 months later, Patrick Mahomes signed a 50 million.
But his was like, I think 10 years though.
His is long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got to, and well, hey, look at Mahomes this year though. Like he's struggling.
Man, the NFL this year, I've never seen anything like this.
Isn't it so fun?
It seems like literally no one wants to win.
No.
Yeah.
It seems like no one wants to be the best team in the league. Arizona, I haven't really watched them that much, but I watched like the other good teams. I watched Buffalo. I've watched Tennessee. Like KC now is 5-3 and has looked tragic, right? Are they 5-3?
No, they were 4 and 4. Yes, or
4 and 5 or 5 and 4.
5 and 4. Yeah,
but they've looked bad at times, right?
They shouldn't have won on that Monday nighter. They shouldn't have won that game against New York. New York was beating them.
Yeah.
Like that was I put money on New York. I was like, the way they're struggling, the odds are in my favor to make, some good dough. Took it to go to overtime, and they had that stupid penalty.
That's right.
And then the play later, they're kicking a field goal for the win. I'm like, oh my God. I was licking my chops. I was like, this is a sure thing. And then, that was brutal. But that's your Kansas City. You should be beating that team 52-12. Like
the NFL is the craziest, best sport in the world, I think. in terms of the league itself, the entertainment value of the league is unbelievable.
Mhm.
And I don't think really compares to other things. Part of it is you have these freak athletes that are trying to beat the crap out of each other every single week. Injuries play such a big role in like who is winning per week. And every single week is totally different.
Mhm.
Like last week, Seattle beat the crap out of Jacksonville, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't even close. It wasn't even a fun game to watch. As a Seahawks fan, I'd say my biggest emotion was relief,
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting a win, right? Because there's a really big downward spiral for 4 or 5 weeks in a row. But then Jacksonville goes to
Buffalo.
Buffalo
Mm-hmm.
and beats them 9-6.
Yeah. Yeah.
Buffalo, like one of the preseason favorites to win the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah.
Really good football team. Josh Allen, supposed to be top 3 quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
They got Stephon Diggs this offseason, right?
Last year. Yeah.
Last year or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah.
6
And
points.
they lose to potentially the worst team in NFL history.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're 2-21 in their last 23 football games in the NFL.
Yeah. I think that one win, and one of those wins wasn't even in the country. It was in the UK.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I couldn't believe that when I saw that score. I was like, "Come again? What?"
9-6.
then-
really exciting football game.
Yeah, yeah, I know. But that Seattle Jacksonville game, I mean, did you guys, question and say, "Hey, this could be one of those, last play of the game," based on how Seattle's been playing?
It was on our back of our heads for sure.
Like take the tie, maybe. I know I was thinking that, like a 16-14
Yeah.
game type thing was what I was fearing. But yeah, I mean, Seattle, when you think they're going to do that, they rise to the occasion and pummel somebody. When you don't think they do that, they're going to leave you with like, oh my God, we need to finish this game because we need this actual win. So yeah, I've been watching. Oh, look at this fumble. Off the kickoff. But Pittsburgh's going to like that. I've been watching Arizona just from that game I saw down there, and I've always kind of liked,
Kyler Murray.
Kyler Murray. Yeah, I've
Mhm.
always kind of liked Kyler Murray because he has that Russell Wilson type
Totally.
vibe to him, right?
Yes.
Small,
yes.
athletic, not necessarily like a traditional type quarterback, but just makes things happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, I think he's a little bit smaller than Russ, but I think he brings that excitement that Arizona also needs. And I mean, look at Arizona now. You got J.J. Watt. They've got Zach Ertz down there now. Like, that was a pickup to help them out in their tight end core. But, I mean, they beat San Fran yesterday. And, they're going to if Russ isn't back, we play them, I think, in 2
weeks, yeah.
right? 2
Yeah.
weeks. So, yeah, if Russ isn't
Russ is back this week.
we hope.
According to all the social media accounts that I get most of my information from, one of which is awesome. I don't know if you follow Seattle C, like the letter C, Hawks on
No,
Instagram.
no.
Follow them.
Okay.
He must have a connection inside the organization because he knows everything before the organization knows anything. So he'll be like, hey, we just signed this guy. And then like an hour and a half later, the actual Seahawks
Really,
account will post,
The
we just
announcement.
signed this guy. Yeah.
Really?
Or like someone's injured, they're out for a week, whatever. Honestly, his account is awesome. I've messaged him back and forth a few times. He's wicked.
Wonder how he knows then. Yeah.
He
Interesting.
must have a connection somewhere, but
Very interesting.
yeah, he has like he's probably the biggest Seahawks account. He has like 100,000 followers.
Well, because he has all the intel.
He's got it first, man.
Yeah.
I know. He's awesome. I get all my stuff from him. The OBJ update.
Yeah.
What's happening
I just
there?
watch him.
It's just talks.
It's
right now,
hard to
right?
tell,
Yeah.
man. It's hard to tell because what I've heard from the organization of the Seahawks is that they have no interest in paying him $8 million to be
That's
a
the
number
thing.
3 receiver, right?
Right. Which
Like,
makes sense.
They're pretty sold on DK and Lockett for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So he'd be number 3. Are you willing to pay someone $8 million for the next 6 games?
No.
8 games, whatever is left, 8 games.
Yeah.
I don't think that would even help us that much for that amount of money.
But according to other
Yeah.
sources, Russell Wilson is really trying to push to get OBJ.
Well, I look at it from a coaching standpoint. You pay him the $8 million, he's going to get double teamed. So, I mean, there he frees up a guy.
It's hard to say, man. Like,
Just use him as a decoy.
the problem is not our receiving core, though.
Yeah.
The problem is not the weapons we have on offense. The problem is, does Russell Wilson have enough time to make reads and throw the ball? That's been the problem the last 5 years.
So you tell your lineman block for 4.6 seconds, or you have receivers that can run 4.340s.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, DK and Lockett are both top tier receivers in the league.
Yeah.
Gerald Everett probably could be a very good tight end if he was utilized more.
Mhm.
And then who's our third receiver right now? Urshua?
I think so. Was it Swain?
Maybe Swain.
Swain might
Maybe
be
Yeah,
our third
Swain.
one.
Yeah. But he had a big game last game.
Yep.
Whatever. I don't think our weapons on offense are in any way hurting us. I think
No.
this is what I think. I think last year was the worst offensive play calling I've ever seen in NFL history, and I am extremely happy that Brian Schottenheimer is not part of our team anymore. We brought in this guy that is supposed to be more offensive minded, more creative, whatever, and I think he's being handcuffed by Mr. Carroll.
Because Pete still calls the shots at the end of the day, I guess.
Pete was born and raised in 1903.
Yeah.
He grew up when football was like, you know, the Bears versus the Steelers in 1934 playing Super Bowl I.
There was no passing.
Totally.
Yeah.
It seems like he's still stuck on, we have to defend, we have to be ultra conservative, we have to run the ball on first and second down, and we only throw the ball whenever necessary. And unfortunately, that is not the way the NFL works anymore. And it hasn't worked for the last decade.
Well, look at, I mean, you've had Chris Carson, Rashad Penny all have pretty significant injuries, and they're getting the brunt of the runs this year and last year.
This is why no one picks,
So,
no intelligent coaches and GMs pick running backs in the first round
yeah.
because they know their career is so short.
Yeah.
A good running back, a phenomenal running back's career is 4 years, 5 years,
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Well, look at
In their
AP.
prime.
They were working AP out last week. Or who was working out Adrian Peterson last week?
Tennessee,
So-
he played.
Tennessee, right? So he did play this weekend.
Well, so he was not on a team.
No,
They
he was,
just
yeah,
picked him up 'cause Henry got hurt.
he was just free agent, just sitting there.
Yeah.
He was
But
getting
he had
ready for
what?
Dancing with the Stars, man.
But
9
dude,
years, 10
but that guy's a
years?
once in a generation guy, right?
Yeah.
It was like him and LT. Like Derrick Henry's had 4 or 5 really good years. But how many guys in the NFL that are currently starting running backs have had 4 or 5 really good years?
in a row? That's-
Maybe one.
Yeah.
Just Henry, probably.
Marshawn Lynch, but that's
Lynch was a unique animal too.
it took him to leave Buffalo before his last year in Buffalo before he started to really get on. And then that was
Totally.
it.
He was like one of those guys that for some reason just avoided a lot of injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He played all the time.
Like Kamara had a down year 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey's been struggling with injuries
McCaffrey
last
gets
2
hurt
years.
every season, man. Every season he gets hurt.
We got to figure you get
Nick
25.
Chubb maybe is he's on his 3rd good year.
He just came back from injury last
Yeah.
game too. It's just
25, 30 carries a game. I mean,
yes, yeah.
it adds up, right?
Well, the interesting thing about that position is if you have a great O-line, you don't get touched till 3 or 4 yards down the field,
Yeah.
right?
When
So
you got some
anyone,
speed.
not anyone, but like a decent athlete who is like a decent college running back can fit in there to that system that has a great offensive line and look like a superstar.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened so many times versus the best running backs of all time that come out of college, go to a shitty team because they get drafted 4th because GMs are stupid. They don't understand that they're going to get injured. Like they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Kareem
Most-
Hunt too, same thing.
Yeah.
is that the
Except-
most underrated position in professional sports? Offensive line?
Just get no love. Yeah.
I think back in the 90s when you had Emmett Smith playing the game, and everyone wanted to see his electric, on field, like he could run away from guys. He could get, what did he have? I think he's 6.2 yards per carry was his average. Like
Jeez.
I'm not don't quote me, but I'm thinking it was high because he was always getting decent chunks of yards,
Yeah.
right? But I think that was when the position was electrifying, and then it sort of shifted to quarterbacks, and then it sort of shifted to like your defensive players, like your cornerbacks that were making those plays out in the secondary, or your safeties that are going out and laying guys out. Like I think it's the game has evolved to showcase these certain positions, I think, over the years.
Totally.
And I think right now it is quarterbacks.
It's by far quarterbacks, but I would say the most underrated is probably O-line and D-line. Like if you have good D-line, like Aaron Donald, like guys like that,
Mhm.
it doesn't matter what the other team is doing. It doesn't matter if you have the best quarterback in the league on the other side. If he has 2.5 seconds to throw instead of 4.5,
Mhm.
the game is completely different.
Totally.
It doesn't matter if you have OBJ on your team
Yeah.
because he doesn't have time to run down the
Yeah.
field
Mhm.
to make guys like miss, right?
Yeah. No, and I think that's going back to, I think that's Seattle's blunder is they just have to get that offensive line sorted, and they got to just pay guys because that's simply what we need. Guys that want to play, that are getting paid.
What is the realistic chance we make the playoffs this year? Because we have two of the best teams in the league in our conference.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams, I think, are a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I'm still not sold on the Cardinals, even though their record is better. I think in the playoffs, the Rams defense beats the Cardinals offense. But
Rams
see that.
defense beats Cardinals. Yeah.
They got Von Miller now too, right? Big pickup.
I saw that. Yeah.
he's old though, right?
He's old. Yeah, exactly. He's kind of, I don't even know why they picked him up. They must have had an injury or something.
I don't know.
I think just going for
I
it
think
this year.
Maybe they're just adding depth at, what is he, D end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just adding depth, adding another guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Because those guys, man, like, they can't play 70 snaps a game.
No, I know.
Right?
no.
They're going full out every single play, and they're, what are they, 250 pounds?
Yeah, and they have different schemes too, where
Yeah.
those guys are off the field for
Yep.
certain plays. So
Yeah.
it's a strategy game. But I think Arizona is the contender in the NFC West. I think they would beat LA. Seattle has two critical games. They still have San Fran and LA at home, and which was once a good home team is not showing those.
To make the playoffs, though, they probably have to get 10 wins because it's a 17-game season now, right?
Yeah.
So knowing that there's two teams in their division that are easily going to be ahead of them in terms of record, they probably have to get 10 wins to get that last wild card spot.
and have a wild card. Yeah.
So that right now they're 3-5. So that means for the rest of the season they're going 7-2. Is that realistic?
I don't know if it's realistic, but they have to.
Because we still have we play Green Bay next week.
Yep.
Coming off a loss,
Yes.
right? Green Bay lost to
lost to
the Chiefs.
With no
KC
Aaron
yesterday.
Rodgers, yeah.
Yeah.
COVID protocol, right? I'm going to just see here.
Okay, so we have Green Bay, then we have the Cardinals. I mean,
Tough games right there.
and then probably a win in Washington, and then hopefully a win against the Niners.
Mm-hmm.
But a division game, right?
We're in Green Bay next week.
And then like we have the Rams, the Bears, and the Cardinals again at the end of the year.
Yeah. And the Cardinals, that January 9th game.
I think the percentage of them making the playoffs is extremely low.
I think
Thinking realistically, they have to go 7-2.
Some random number. I think they have them at 21% right now to make the playoffs.
I think that's high.
Oh,
I think it's more
yeah,
like
because they need a bit of
1
help
in 10,
too.
man.
Like, yeah, you've got
Maybe 9 wins. Does 9 wins get into the playoffs?
1, 2, 3.
Because 9 wins
4,
in 17 game
5,
season
6,
is 9 and
7,
8.
It'd be so
9.
close. It depends what other teams do at that point.
Because then they're competing against like the Bears,
Yeah,
Falcons.
Yeah.
it's New Orleans. Because they're gonna.
Yes, New Orleans is a big one.
Because there's, is it 2 or 3 wildcard teams now? Did they change it to 3? I think they changed it
They
to
added
3.
one more, right?
Yeah, because only one team gets a bye now.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
So there's 3 wildcard.
So I mean, Arizona, the way they're playing for the bye because they're the best record in the NFC.
Arizona and the Rams beat us like record wise for sure, I think.
But I think Seattle has to. I mean, I hate to say it, but it could come down to that January 9th game against Arizona.
Well, one of those teams is getting the wild card, right?
Yeah.
So let's say the Cardinals win the division. The Rams get 1 wild card. Then we're competing for 2 spots against New Orleans, Atlanta, Minnesota, and Chicago are both 3-5, same record as us. And then that other division is probably the worst division in football.
Yeah.
The Cowboys division.
Yeah, because they're taking that. I mean, yeah.
I guess it's doable. I guess they probably need 9 wins, so they need to go 6-3. I don't know, man. That's
I think they need
looking
10.
at their schedule.
I think they need
I think
10.
10 is safer, yeah.
Yeah, because at least at 10 wins, you hope to get a wild card.
Because New Orleans already has 5 wins. So let's say they're a wild card team for sure. So then there's 1 spot left.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's us. Both Carolina and Atlanta have 4 wins. And then, I don't know, Minnesota and Chicago are the same record.
Well, Russ also has to stay healthy for these next.
Is his first
9
injury
games.
in 10 years.
Yeah. Albeit one that
And it was a
freak
weird thing.
Yeah.
Totally.
Freak accident.
He's so fun to watch because he's so shifty and he doesn't get hit hard. Right? He gets sacked a lot, but it's never like a bad
No, never.
hit.
Yeah, like who would have thought with Russell Wilson he would have got injured throwing the ball and not running it,
Yeah,
right?
weird, right?
you
Yeah.
know, like just his luck or our luck as fans. 7-2, I think, is the way to go. And I think that game against Phoenix or Arizona is going to be, it's going to be true Seahawks fashion. It's going to come down to the last game. And I mean, we're going to be probably looking in the locker room or watching during the halftime to see what the other teams are doing just to get that boost.
And Arizona
And
probably
it's going to come down to
won't
it.
even need to win that game.
No.
They won't play any other starters or anything.
Yeah.
Potentially.
Well, they'll also have the bye too, so you have 2 weeks off if they win the outright.
Yeah.
Which 1 loss, I think.
They have
Mhm.
one right now.
Yeah, they had 1 loss though against
But-
Green Bay,
The last couple of weeks, they haven't looked great.
which was a really good game though.
It was a good game.
That Thursday nighter,
Yeah.
and I mean that was Arizona had that one. It was just the receiver error with Kyler Murray was it not Adams? Who was it? I can't remember, but he didn't look back on the fade in the end zone.
Oh, yeah.
The Green Bay guy read it the whole way.
Yeah.
And then you just turned around basically and the ball was right there as a gift. But I think that was their only loss, and that was last Thursday.
That was their only
and they
loss
won
last week.
against San Fran. So they're
San
7-1, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean
They're 8-1.
they could, or 8-1, yeah.
Yeah.
So they could 4 more wins could lock up that division for them.
I still
You
think
know?
the Rams are better than they've shown so far.
Yeah, I think you know what, it's Matthew Stafford. You know, I just hasn't been gelling over there.
Do you think that's their
As much.
biggest question mark?
I think yes.
Yeah.
I think yes, because Jared Goff ran that offense.
Both, in my opinion, are not very good quarterbacks.
Wow, it's amazing. I know. Yeah, but look what Goff's done now. Nothing.
What has Goff done? Nothing. Just stuck in Detroit, poor guy.
That's it. Because I think his record is.
He hasn't won a game this year, has
That's
he?
what I mean. Yeah.
I'm okay, Denny. Thank you.
Jared Goff stats.
And then freaking for the Rams, their offense, Cooper Kupp's been playing out of his mind.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Woods is not so good, but he's still a good receiver.
I mean, Goff's had. Oh, thanks, buddy. So Goff has got just under 2,000 yards passing.
Let's be honest, though. Detroit is one of those places where people go to die,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's like the New York Jets. It's like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah.
Nobody goes there to thrive.
Or the Winnipeg Jets. You mean go to Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, brutal. But that's I think that's LA's biggest issue is it just he hasn't gelled down there. You know, coming from Detroit's lackluster team for the last few years.
Yeah.
And now you get pumped into a winning franchise and you're expected to win.
We talk about this all the time. Is like how many elite quarterbacks are there in the world at one time? And I think it's less than 5. So if I were to say 5,
Tom
I would
Brady.
say I don't think Tom Brady is there right now today.
Elite?
Not anymore. He's 47,000 years old. I don't know.
They're
I don't-
gonna.
He doesn't know what down it is half the time.
They're gonna
confused
run.
out
They're
there.
gonna run. I think they're gonna.
They got the best defense in the league.
Yeah, like they're
Okay.
gonna put a good run on for the Super Bowl. I think they're in the AFC Championship game.
I think Tom Brady's in the top 10 currently.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in the top 5. If I was picking a team that was going to play to try to win a Super Bowl this year, I would have Mahomes ahead of him. I would have Wilson. I would have Aaron Rodgers. I would probably have Josh Allen.
Really?
So maybe he's like 5, 6, 7, somewhere there.
They're gonna play for the AFC Championship game.
No, I hate him so much.
Yeah, I can see the hate.
If
That's
I saw
why.
him in the street, I would punch him in the face.
Yeah, but you got to give credit where credit's due here.
I disagree. It is what it is.
He went to a team.
I think he's shit.
He went to a team, and I thought, I was with you. I was skeptical. He's like, there's no way he's winning a Super Bowl. There's no way he was winning a Super Bowl.
They have
And
the best
then-
receiving core in the league.
That's what I mean, and that's
they have
what
the
it
best
takes.
defense in the league.
And he's got a good O-line in front
Oh,
of him.
great O-line, yeah.
Yeah, like
Made
he's
it
got
work.
time to throw. He's got time to make a sandwich back there and throw. And that'll get you to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's the truth.
I hate him.
You gotta love to hate him. That's how you just have to look at it. I wasn't a Tom fan after, of course, that Super Bowl where we should have had that, but I saw him play live, and it's like he backs it up. He does back it up.
So you wouldn't pick anyone ahead of Tom Brady currently to win a Super Bowl?
Out of the quarterbacks right now, I don't think. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think like if you take Arizona, put Arizona in the Super Bowl, Kyler Murray's going to win that game on the ground and in the air. But I think he's on the ground. He's running that ball if he's in the Super Bowl. I think if you have LA in the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford has to be lights out. I don't put him ahead of Tom Brady.
I don't put Matt Stafford in the top 12.
Jared Allen or Josh Allen. I mean,
He had a big offensive day yesterday, so keep that in mind.
6 points. Like,
I'm just kidding.
yeah. I mean, that if you're going to win the Super Bowl, I think that was their nail in the coffin right there. I don't think they can come back from that because they're going to be beat up this week, and I think it tapers into this week.
I don't know who they have.
I think
Because
they've got a whole room.
Have they only have
people.
2 losses? Is that their second loss or third? Maybe that may be their third.
I think that was their third.
I think the
That loss though yesterday,
Titans
I
are ahead
bet
of them
you equates to like a 4-game losing streak
I don't know about that.
emotionally
I
in
don't
that
know
locker
about
room.
that. I disagree. I think the Bills.
They're
are
5-3, yeah.
I think the Bills are going to be totally fine. I think the Bills are easily going to be a playoff team.
Who do they
and
play
in the
next- who do they
playoffs?
play
They're
this
going to be
week?
scary.
Who do they play this
The
weekend?
Jets.
The Jets?
Yep.
Okay, that should be a sure win.
Play Jets, Colts, Saints the next 3. The AFC is just so much shittier than the NFC. There's
is,
like
every year.
3 good
Mhm.
teams, right?
Yeah.
Titans, Bills.
Bucks.
No, that's their NFC.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the NFC. Bills.
Guess like
Chargers
you,
are
you can maybe
not
put the
even
Browns
there.
in that conversation now.
Ravens.
The Browns are 5-3,
5-4.
5-4. Ravens, yeah.
6-2.
Yeah.
It is. This is the most dispersed year I've ever seen. Right? Usually, there's like 2 or 3 teams that you're like they're going to be in the AFC or NFC Championship game,
Yeah.
Yeah.
for sure. Right? Versus this year, it just seems like nobody is interested in stepping out.
Oh my God, he runs it
And now the
back.
Titans don't have Derrick Henry, which is so big.
How long is he out for?
They might potentially for the rest of the year.
Yeah,
What do you do?
they're saying
Broke
10
his
weeks.
foot.
Oh shit!
You can't cut or do anything on
No,
a broken
You
foot.
can't. Which is crazy because I remember them showing how rigorous his training schedule was. What did he do here? He just like let it fly out of his hand. Roethlisberger. They were showing his vigorous training in the offseason. It's like the guy looked poised. He was going to set records this year.
Mhm.
like he already has 2,000 yards for the season.
It's a running back, man. It's a running back.
Because he did it the last 2 years before, right?
Mm-hmm.
But just like getting 30 plus touches a game, how long can this last for?
Well, and there you have like a
Yeah.
broken foot of all things, right? Like you need that to run.
I think teams are too reliant on that position. Like, I think there needs to be a lot of depth for a team to do very well at the running back position.
Mhm.
And that's why I always like how Seattle kind of runs the football, is
Mhm.
they always have like a number 1 guy like Lynch or, Carson's been it over the last few years, but they have a good 2 and 3 guy.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
even Homer as a number 3 guy is a pretty good guy to get
Mhm.
5 touches a game versus someone like Tennessee who only has Derrick Henry
they're
gets
in
injured,
trouble.
and they're like, "Oh shit, what do we do?"
And their entire game plan now changes.
Totally.
We hire Adrian Peterson.
But if but if Henry gets 35 touches a game, it's not if he's going to get injured. It's like which week is he going to get injured in?
Correct.
Right. But if you can limit that number one guy's touches to like 15 to 18 a game, and have your number two guy get 5 to 7, and your number three guy get 3 to 5, then you just like prolong the life of these guys. But man, name one guy that continues to get 35 carries a game that lasts more than 3 seasons.
Impossible.
McCaffrey is a good example, right? They just give him the ball every fucking play, and he gets injured every year.
But the thing is, he's a good like receiving was most of his thing too, and he's still injured. It doesn't make a difference.
Dude, you're getting hit by the best athletes in the world on every play.
Yeah.
Here's an ex-Seahawk here. Cassis Marsh taunting. Look at him. Looks over at the bench. Had to cut you off there, sorry, because ex-Seahawk, we had to give him a bit of credit, then he went and blew it.
Yeah, we're good at that.
Special teams player of the year, I think, for them.
DK might get the most unsportsmanlike conduct penalties in NFL history this year.
Yeah.
Every week he gets one.
And now you're tainted too, right?
DBs know what to say and know exactly how to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's hard.
No, I don't think so.
Do you think they have like group chats out there?
100%.
Like WhatsApp chats with like all the DBs? Like, hey, I said
On
this
other
to DK,
teams?
he gets
100%.
I said this to DK, he got choked. Oh, we got him this week. I'll try it and see what happens, right? It'd be so funny.
Yeah. 100% there
Yeah,
is.
it must.
What do you think of, we talk about the Seahawks offensive scheming every week, it seems like. I want to hear your thoughts without hearing mine.
Summed up in one word, predictable.
Yeah, there we go.
Boring and predictable, yep. It's just embarrassing that we have one of the best players in NFL history, let's say of his generation, to be conservative, Russell Wilson. He's very, very good. We have a lot of really good weapons on offense, and yet it is shockingly frustrating to watch them run the football on 1st and 2nd down and put them in 3rd and 7s and 3rd and 8s almost every drive.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I don't know if he's like, I don't know whose fault it is.
Yeah, that's
This
the
is my
biggest
problem.
thing. Yeah.
So my problem went from the last couple of years. I think Pete Carroll is really good if he stays in his lane. I think he's a really good rah-rah guy. He gets guys pumped up. He gets guys to buy into the system really well. He is not good in any fashion on running a defense or offensive scheme whatsoever. So if he can be a phenomenal head coach if he allows the offensive defensive coordinator to do their fucking job.
Mm-hmm.
Like it seems like Waldron right now literally just is told what to do, and he's just a puppet in the system. And it's like, hey, Shane, you're coming over to the Seahawks. My name's Pete Carroll. I wear Nike Monarchs, and I'm going to chew my gum really hard, and I'm going to tell you what play to run, and we're going to run the football 70% of our plays.
Yeah.
And good luck to you, sir, and we're going to have a fun year. Like, that's it.
Because like last year we blamed Schottenheimer for everything, right?
Well,
We thought
Schottenheimer was trash.
Yeah, but we got a Waldron this year and not much has changed. It's still
Schottenheimer
so
went to being
predictable.
like an assistant to the regional manager of the quarterback coaches. Like that's what his position is now on. I don't know who he's with, like the Jags. I think he's with the Jags, actually. He went to the worst sports franchise in sports history. And he doesn't even have a title. That's how bad he is. I called it. I fucking called it 2 years early, Carl. So we need to get rid of this Trump.
I hate to say it, but I think if Seattle doesn't make the playoffs this year, yeah, you can blame a bit of Russell Wilson being out, but I think this could be the end of Pete.
That's what I don't want it to be.
I don't want it to be either.
But I think Pete is so stubborn that something has to change. And either his whole philosophy needs to change, where he just understands that we're living in 2021 and not 1986 anymore. And the NFL runs differently, and winning football games in the NFL looks different than it did 30 years ago when he started. But I don't think he's capable of doing that. And I think the Seahawks have had such a good decade that this big step backwards probably warrants drastic change.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I think looking at like some of the other teams that have had success, I think we go young this year. I think we go young coach and go more towards that way of thinking of how the new NFL is.
Who's really good in the NFL in terms of head coaches? So Bruce Arians has put
I was
together a
gonna
really
say,
good squad,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if that was him or the GM there. I don't pay attention enough. Sean McVay is probably up there in the top
Yeah.
3 to 5.
Everyone just talks about his play calling and that. Yeah. All the time.
Seems like he's more in. I don't know if you watch his like post game interviews, but that guy is fucking laser focused.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everything he does and says is like very thought out.
McVay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he lives and breathes. It seems like he's that guy that is in the office 18 hours a day, goes
Yeah.
home to sleep for 2.5 hours, and then is back watching film at 3 a.m.
And just loves it.
Yeah. Everything about him. And he's isn't he under
He's
40 still?
He's our age, I think. Like
How old are you?
36.
30, he's that young?
I believe.
That's
Yeah.
nuts,
Yeah.
eh?
Yeah. He's young. And he's like, he's got I think a wife and a young family too. So I don't know how he gets the hours in. Like I just don't. But I think if you have to ask, I think if Seattle has a colossal season, which they could, and I think you gotta change that room up because you've had how many losing seasons now? Couple mediocre playoff runs in the last 2 years. I think something's got to change.
I think in order to keep Russell Wilson happy, something has to change.
Exactly, because you got to keep Russ at the end of the day happy.
That was one of the conversations we had the other day was like, in my mind, they're not making the playoffs this year. I hope they prove me wrong, but it just seems unlikely. If they need to go 7-2 for the rest of the year,
That's asking.
based on how
That's a
they
lot.
performed
Yeah.
in the first half of the year,
Yeah.
it's extremely
But see,
unlikely.
this is like the way Pete is on the field. He's jokey, buddy. When you're losing and you're still doing that, everyone thinks it's just a joke and buddy, right? You've lost the system.
Mhm.
So I think they have to have a complete shift in a mindset shift of like, hey, we've got to go 7-2 if we want to have a shot, and then pray that it's a whole new ballgame once we make the playoffs. But if the good teams are still getting good, we're going to just have an uphill battle all the way to the Super Bowl, which I don't like our chances at that point because we really have to win almost outright and lose 2 games.
I think the offense is good enough, and they can put more points on the board if they structure the play calling differently. Like, remember the first 6 or 7 games of last season? They're averaging like 38 points a game and 450 yards.
Yeah.
And it was just a joke. Like every game, I think they started 6-0 or 5-0 or something.
Yeah.
But every game they would win like 41-38.
The scores were
Yeah.
so high.
And it was just like Russell Wilson's going to put a shit ton of points on the board. I think he started the season with like 25 touchdowns and 0 picks.
He was like a favorite
It was-
MVP for the little
Yeah,
bit.
For sure, for the first half, yeah. And then it just seemed like they changed the way they were calling plays in the second half of the year.
It slowed everything down, went way more into running. It just
Yeah.
changed everything.
Yeah. That's the college Pete Carroll way, right?
Yeah.
And then Wilson started
But the
throwing
defense
picks.
started getting better.
Yes.
It wasn't even a lot of picks. I think
I think
like
the play
6
calling
picks
fucked
in
with
the
them.
year.
I think that's what it was, man.
Yeah. He is he's like an Aaron Rodgers. He's like a Peyton Manning that you just have to rely on him to win football games, right? Like, hey, this is the idea of what we want to run on offense, but it's your job to walk up to the line and see what the defense is doing and change the play.
Yes, correct.
Mhm.
It's not, we're going to run the ball on first down. We're going to run the ball on second down, and then you're going to see what you can do on third. You just have to let him do his thing.
And that's what they're missing right now because, who's our backup right now? It's
Geno.
Geno Smith. Yeah.
Geno Smith. Yeah. He's just not there yet. He's not there.
I mean,
Russell's still doing warm up even with his hand out, right? Like
it's pretty cool.
he's
to see watch
dialed.
that
Yeah,
guy,
it's
though.
pretty like if you want to say he's got no fire, and that's why I say like I think he will fulfill that contract. Because just like the way how many guys are injured and they're still warming up? Like not many in this league when they're injured, they're just out there on the sidelines cheering each other on. Like he's out there doing his pregame rituals. Like they were saying that they wouldn't be surprised if Russ could throw left-handed by the end of his injury break because he was doing it, right? Like, and that's just how he is. So I think, yeah, you got to be able to pull that control factor. And I don't think Geno does that at the line. Or can.
I think we have to like understand that the backup quarterback position might be one of the harder things to do in sports, right? Someone gets injured, you're cold. You've been standing on the sideline, freezing your ass off for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh shit, bro.
Well, especially in Geno's position, because he's like, Russ ain't been hurt his whole career. I'm fine. This is great.
For 10 years. Yeah.
I'll see you guys Monday at practice. Like, nope. And I think that's where it's been, you know. But you know what I gotta say though is we've got one of the biggest beasts on that field in DK. Why do we not use him like a Deion Sanders was used with Troy back in Dallas in those days?
Or like Megatron.
Exactly. Right? Throw that ball up there. Let him jump for it. Yeah, you risk that injury then too, but he's got the height on most of those DBs. He's got the hands. Like,
so this is what everything. I think the offensive play calling has been extremely subpar this year. And then I also think the offensive line doesn't give enough time for what they're trying to do to develop. So it seems like what the Seahawks really like doing is running the ball and then play action, deep passes off of the run game. And if your offensive line is mediocre, it's just such a terrible way to run a football game because you don't have 6 seconds to let guys go down the field.
Yeah. Well, right? and hats off too, because a lot of these DBs nowadays, they're good. Like they can keep up. They can, like I'm watching backs or defensive backs and safeties make plays that are just, you know, they don't even have to look for the ball anymore. They just watch the receiver react and their hands go up and the ball's, interrupted, right? Eyes, yeah. The pass is interrupted. So I just think that everyone's getting good out there, you know. The
game's so different, right?
It is.
The game is a pass-first league now. It is what it is. And the Seahawks are behind in terms of adjusting to that pass-first league, right? What are our weakest points on our team? Probably offensive line in allowing us to be a pass-first team and our defensive back crew in defending the pass-first league. So everything the Seahawks are doing for the last few years is going against what is happening in the league.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we could use a Legion of Boom right now, honestly.
Yeah. We're one good corner away from having a good defensive back crew, I think.
Yeah.
Cuz I think if you have a DB number 1, a corner that is lights out like a Richard Sherman was in his prime, like a Jalen Ramsey is right now, you can just leave that guy on a desert island every single play, right?
Count on him,
and then you use Jamal Adams to his strength. His strength is not coverage. He's not good at seeing the ball in the air and going to get it. That's not what he does. Whereas Diggs is actually quite good at that.
Well, we had Shaq Griffin last year too, and I don't know why we let him go.
Shaq wasn't good.
I think he came in at the right time, though. He could make those plays from across the side if there was the need for it, and he was just a presence out there.
So Shaq was better at adjusting to the ball in the air, but Shaq was not good in coverage. If you left Shaq one-on-one, he'd get beat a lot of the time by good receivers. But he looked good on the Seahawks because our DBs were shit.
Yeah.
Right? If you're across the field from Trey Flowers, 85% of the time, the quarterback's throwing the ball to Trey Flowers' side because he is garbage, right? You might as well put a pylon out there, put Carl out there, give Carl 6 beers and then put him at corner. Like he's doing the same shit as Trey Flowers is doing. Anyway, that was like when he asked for a trade, in my head, I'm like, man, this guy is dumber than I thought, right?
Well,
because he is not good at his position and he gets benched for a week because he's not good. He's been given 4 years of tries, right? They've started him for 4 years and he sucked every game. And then he gets benched for 1 game. He's like, fuck you guys, I'm out.
Is that what happened? Okay.
No, he asked to be traded. I think they just cut him.
I think so too.
I thought they cut him and then he got picked up by Baltimore. No.
Jokes on Baltimore.
Okay. Yeah.
Got picked up?
Oh. Both brothers got let go, I think. Both Griffin brothers got let go.
That was last season.
Yeah.
Last offseason, yeah. Shaq left. Shaq went to Jacksonville. And then Shaquem? The other guy's name?
Mm.
Yeah. I don't know if he even
So went to
signed.
Jacksonville.
He was
then.
just a special teams guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, to make the league with a one hand is
Bro, that's,
remarkable.
Yeah. He was the heart and soul out there. Like just getting those guys. I mean, if you ever had an excuse, you just look at the guy next to you and be like, how can I say anything right now? Like this guy's out here killing it.
Fired up.
And making plays.
Yeah.
Like, no, I commend that heart. That's awesome.
yeah. So Shaquille is on Jacksonville.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Okay, my mistake.
We
Yeah,
played
and
him last week.
And Shaq is a free agent. He's not in right now.
What do you think of the OBJ conversation?
I think it goes back to like you've got your views on not paying him $8 million, but I think you pay him the money to be a decoy out there. I think you do, because he's going to be a decoy. I mean, as long as he brings no antics to the team, because we can't afford that if we're trying to go 7-2.
I think
But it's going to take him a week or two to get used to the flow too, right? Like he's not going to come in and just be magic right away.
my thought process is more like, are the Seahawks actually going to utilize him?
I think that's what the decoy will be, like if he gets double teamed, because I think just having
But does
OBJ
it
on
matter
the
based on
team-
how they're running the offense right now? It doesn't matter.
I think it'll just give you. I think it's a risky play, but I think other teams will come in and they won't know what Seattle's going to do because they don't have any tape on how Seattle runs with him, and I think they may get fooled and maybe they don't double team him and then he's open and then he makes that play that could help. Because you go back 2 weeks to the Monday Night Football game, which I was at. The best play of the game was, I think, the first play, which was a throw to DK. And that was their play of the night. That was the only thing that they did all night. So if you get a couple of those plays and the defense can at least get a few stops, I mean, you've got Baldwin, you've got DK Metcalf, you got OBJ back there.
Lockett, not Baldwin.
Or sorry,
Baldwin was a few
Lockett.
years
Yeah,
ago.
Baldwin. Sorry, yeah. I get
Good old
those two
days,
always. Yeah, those are the good old era days.
Golden Tate,
Yeah.
Baldwin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, Golden Tate's always a fan favorite too. Yeah, you got Lockett, you got DK, and you have if you have OBJ in the mix, I think it just opens up some double teaming, which then will leave somebody open. Which you've got your, you quote you Megatron in DK
He is,
Metcalf.
man. He has that capability if he's not an idiot, which he's proving to be an idiot.
Yeah, he's had a couple bad penalties.
But the Seahawks need to rethink how their offense is going to run for the rest of the year, especially if they are going to try to make the playoffs. And it's an interesting idea to bring in OBJ and just completely redo the offense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, okay, we're going to be a pass first team. We're going to get 65 snaps a game. We're going to throw the ball 45 times. And we're going to try to see if defenses can cover 3 really good receivers.
But then
It's
you also
interesting.
have Russ coming back off injury. Are they going to want to throw a lot on that hand right away?
I think he's going to be completely fine.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I hope you're right.
I think he's going to be totally fine.
I mean, I put it this way. We're not spending money elsewhere. It's not our money. Like, let them spend the $8 million to bring him in. It can't hurt at this point. Like, there's no at the end of the year, you spent $8 million more on one player. You didn't make the playoffs.
Well, it's interesting to think about it from a management perspective, right? Like, if you're a GM, if you're an owner, you're 3-5. You see 2 of the teams in your division be legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and you're not going to catch them in the division.
No.
Do you pack it in? Like, if you're a GM thinking, okay, I'm going to spend $8 million bringing this guy in to try to win 3 more football games and not make the playoffs anyway, or I save that $8 million and we try to rebuild next year, fire Pete, whatever my thought process is, and try to take advantage of the last few years of Russell Wilson with us.
But you need 7 wins this year.
Yeah, but I don't think they're going to get that, man. Is that realistic? If you're a GM thinking long term in the Seahawks organization, are you trying to do whatever you can and spend as much money as you can to win 7 games this year? Or are you thinking this year's a write-off? Let's plan for next season.
I think you spend it. What do you got to lose?
I think you're talking about it as a fan, though.
No, I'm thinking also as a business. Like they have a very short window before this team gets imploded again.
The team is already imploded now.
That's what I mean. And
They're
as I'm saying,
3-5.
So
but
short.
then you
There's
go back.
nothing to keep.
Okay, so now you go back to your statement with Russell Wilson asking for a trade. I think if they don't see, and that's why I think he's going for that too. He wants them to bring, if the source is correct, he's vouching to get OBJ here. I think he's basically saying to management, hey, look, like if you bring him here, he could give us a shot at winning.
Or do you bring Russ into head office and say, hey, this is what we're 3-5. It's not looking good.
Mm-hmm.
We got the Cardinals in our division who are 8-1. We got the Rams who are 7-2. We're probably not making the playoffs this year. And this is our thought. Let's go after a few positions in the offseason. Let's save this money. Let's try to bring in 1 or 2 rockstar offensive linemen. What does a rockstar offensive lineman cost? Probably $7 to $8 million a year.
I think so, somewhere around there.
Let's try to bring in 1 corner. He's going to cost $10 million a year. So we got $30 million to spend. That's what we're going to do for next season. And we're going to try to win a Super Bowl next year. But spending this $8 million on a what if to potentially try to make the playoffs this season doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think Russ says, well, why didn't you guys bring in an offensive lineman years ago when I told you to? Why now?
I mean, that's like in real estate saying, why didn't I buy that place 4 years ago?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
And that's why I think like Seattle,
shoulda, woulda, but
really, if you look at it, they have nothing to lose, I don't think. That's why you spend the money and you bring him in. Because I think it will just creates a different aspect on that field, a decoy. I hope I'm wrong because, I mean, yeah, I'd like to see $8 million go towards an offensive line. But, I mean, we brought back Marshawn Lynch to help us in the playoffs.
But we paid him like $400,000.
And Skittles. yeah, like nothing.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know, it just seems so Seattle-esque to do that. Bring him in for 8 games, see if he can help out, or the 9 games we have left.
It's an interesting conversation, and I'm being slightly devil's advocate and like going against what you're saying.
Totally.
But at the same time, as a fan who wants to see the Seahawks win the Super Bowl again in my lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's going to happen this year. So like,
Okay, so
it's either winning the Super Bowl or nothing, right? I don't give a fuck if we don't make the playoffs. If we're not winning the Super Bowl, it doesn't matter if we go 1-37 or go 17-0 and then lose in the first round. It's the same thing.
I think you have a better shot of DK Metcalf asking for a trade before Russell Wilson retires if they don't win another Super Bowl.
I wouldn't be opposed to getting rid of DK. I think he's a head case.
I don't think you let him go for nothing.
I think but I think you'd get something out of him.
Do you think Russell Wilson wins another Super Bowl in his career in Seattle?
He's good enough. Whether or not the surrounding players around him are good enough is the question mark
That's
for me.
why we need an OBJ.
I think that's why we need an O-line.
But you can't.
And a corner.
I mean, I think there's a few more O-linemen up for grabs right now than there are receivers. But those O-linemen haven't been working out. They haven't been on field game day shape. Like that's the biggest thing is game day shape, right?
Sure.
I think OBJ, if he were to sign, he comes in, he plays maybe a quarter of the game, maybe get him in for 20, 30 yards. But I don't think he doesn't click till like the next week or the week after. But I think you just bring him in to just kind of get a sniff for how they run the offense. Hope for some double coverage on him so that it frees up, Lockett or DK or another, tight end downfield.
It's interesting, man. I
mean, he's gonna go for he'll go for every catch he can try and make, right? Like that's the thing that he'll bring to the table. So like he'll go for everything. He won't not want to go for he'll want to make the razzle dazzle catches because it's in his career, it's in his blood, the way he's been playing to make those death defying catches, right?
I'd love to see them go on a run.
I know that's the thing. It would be electrifying. It would get the fans and keep the fans into it, I think, for the next 9 games, regardless of how the season goes. But if you lose this week in Green Bay, you lose next week, I think, the 12s are going to kind of be like, okay, season's over.
Maybe I'm moving up on the season ticket list, though.
Yeah, to 50,000.
I don't think there's any way 20,000 are losing in 1 year or out in 1 year. Every year, I move up like a few hundred spots.
That's it, eh?
That's it. It's so small, man. It's nuts. They've been good for a long time, right?
Mhm.
They have
Yes.
been. That's the thing. But
Yeah.
good or great is measured in championships.
100%.
And we've got one. That's where I think you got to take the chances. And that's me speaking from the fan side of it. But I think you have to take the chance if you want to get a shot at getting a championship.
I think taking a chance, though, is a good thing in the off season or like early in the year when you're 4-1 and you're trying to get to that next level.
But
But when
nobody.
you're 3-5 and you're likely not making the playoffs, I don't know if that's the right time to spend money.
Yeah, I get it's like, I mean, I just look at it. The GM, yeah, his job is to, make salary and be under budget, but he's also going to be getting the gears from his upper management if they have a lackluster performance this year. So I think that's where you have to take the chance and say, hey, look, if I don't take the chance, we lose. Regardless, it's either me, Pete, or both. We're out of here. I got to think.
I don't think the GM's going anywhere.
No.
What's that guy's name?
We've-
Rob Schneider, right?
Schneider.
Yeah,
Rob
Rob
Schneider?
Schneider.
Is that what it is?
No, it's Schneider. It's John
John?
Schneider.
Why do I always say Rob?
I know that's
Who's
so-
Rob Schneider?
He's
He's
the
a-
actor.
Is he?
Yeah,
Adam
yeah.
Sandler's buddy, right? With
Yeah.
all those movies.
John Schneider. Okay.
I mean, both just as goofy.
Yeah. But that guy's been pretty good. It seems like he's been pretty good. It seems like
But good
The-
and great. That's where it comes down to chat. I mean,
know.
and that's where, like, if Tom goes back to the Super Bowl this year, those guys look like heroes, and they paid Tom, and we're just asking for $8 million. I don't know. I think we're going to agree to disagree on this.
No, I'm not. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I'm just.
I mean, first they got to sign him,
Yeah. I'm
but
just.
that could be the big news this week, right?
Who knows?
I mean, they may have already signed him, and he's practicing already. They're just not going to say it till after the bye week.
Pete got asked today in his press conference, and his response was, "I'm not saying yes or no." They're like, "Well, what does that mean?" He's like, "I was on the practice field. I can't comment."
So it's in talks for sure.
Yeah,
For
totally,
sure.
totally. Yeah.
It'd be exciting to see. I've always been a fan of him, most times. I mean, he does like his Vegas pool parties in the off season, but who doesn't if you're that caliber of an individual and you're able to go? But I think at this
He's
point of his
probably going to be
career,
a bad example for DK.
Oh my God.
oh, for sure. But I mean, whatever happens off the field, and if they're well respected, then they got to have a little bit of fun. But I think, I think at this point in his career, I mean, he wants a Super Bowl too.
I know he's never really played on a good team. Eh?
No,
No.
never.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
The NFL's so funny like that.
I mean,
There's
you
so
had
many-
Eli Manning,
Yeah.
and you were like stuck in New York, but you had New York. And now look at him.
Where'd he go? He went to Cleveland.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just
That's
a
it?
few
He was
years
just
of
there for a
injuries.
few years?
Yeah, because him and Batman and Robin went to Cleveland when they had that. That's what they called themselves. Remember? It was Odell and
Baker.
no, not Baker Mayfield. The other receiver.
Ocho
Oh.
Cinco.
Oh no, was it? No, not Ocho Cinco.
Wasn't he? Oh, no. Where is he? Where's he? Cleveland?
He was
Or,
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Yeah, yeah.
But they had. It was. You gotta pull it up, right? It was.
I'm looking.
AJ Green.
Was it AJ Green?
Wasn't that a Browns guy? Or was he a Cincinnati guy?
They used to call themselves Batman and Robin out there.
Batman and Robin.
Can't find it.
Batman and Robin, Cleveland. I don't know.
It's gonna drive me crazy until he finds it. We're definitely talking a lot about it. So
If I change the subject, can you just bring it up if you find it?
Yep.
Okay. What do you think of Aaron Rodgers right now?
I think he's playing probably his most fun years of football right now.
What do you think of his COVID bullshit, though?
That threw me for a loop yesterday when I heard that.
So he
went to the Halloween parties and he had the Halloween shindigs.
Well, he said something in an interview a couple weeks ago about being immunized.
Right.
And he never got vaccines.
Yeah.
But he didn't really tell people that he didn't get vaccines. And he said something about immunized. He's like, yes, I've been immunized. And to him, it was like seeing some shaman or something. And he got like blessed by the Lord. He's like a weird kind of hippie kind of dude, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, he didn't get vaccines. So apparently in the NFL, you don't have to get vaccines.
No.
But if you don't have vaccines, your like protocol is different and you have to get tested more. And you have to wear masks in like
strict protocol.
Locker rooms and stuff like that, whatever. That people that have vaccines don't have to.
Yeah.
And he tested positive for COVID this week, so he didn't play.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got strict protocol for unvaccinated players. Apparently, that's what they were saying after this whole Rodgers thing. I mean, I follow on Instagram. He looks like he's having a blast, like team parties. He's always he's always ripping his O lineman. David Bakatiri, I think his name is. I don't know. He was the guy that was seen chugging a beer at the Milwaukee Bucks basketball game and then got his dad to do it on the big screen and it went viral. But yeah, he looks like he's having a blast out there and he's having fun. Like even his tackle in Arizona, he was like the first one to start sharing the memes that were created.
Oh yeah.
And it looks so funny, right? So yeah, I mean, he's won a Super Bowl. He's playing Green Bay. 2 different coaches in that era. I think he's just having fun. He knows his career's. He's got some years left, but I think he's just.
The NFL's so funny. Like a guy like that, is he better on the same level, as good, not as good as like the all-time greats? Like to me, watching him, he just moves differently and he makes different decisions that if he was on, like, let's say Bill Belichick was his coach. Does he have 6 Super Bowls?
I think
like he's
pretty
so
close.
Good.
He's close.
I think it'd be close. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Was it the Odell Beckham? Was it Landon Collins?
No.
Then who? I can't find this.
Oh my God. Let me see if I can find it.
I'm pretty sure Matt's making this shit up.
No, it's true. Hold on. I'll figure this out here.
Andrew Olsen?
No, it was a.
Because I know, what's it called? Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt called themselves Batman and Robin too.
Right. Beckham and.
We're going to find this.
Receiver.
Was it Jarvis Landry? No, because still there.
Browns releasing. Yeah, he's still there. I think it was. Maybe it was Landry. Because they've been together for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it might have been Jarvis Landry. Batman and Robin. I just remember them calling themselves that. I thought it was pretty funny.
Both of them haven't done much in Cleveland.
No, and that's, I mean, Baker Mayfield is, I wouldn't consider him on the same caliber as Russell Wilson, but I mean, he's certainly starting to come along. So maybe he just needs a quarterback to be thrown to him. I don't know.
I think that's how bad the Seahawks are outside of Russell Wilson. So you can have a really, really, really good quarterback and still look like garbage. Versus someone like Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Right? Is surrounded by very good football players and they have a very good defense and they're 6-2.
Yeah. 7-2.
Put Ryan Tannehill on the Seahawks. They're 7-2? Yeah, whatever. Put Ryan Tannehill on the Seahawks and they're 0-27.
Oh, yeah.
It's like starting Geno Smith. Like, how's it any different?
No, it wouldn't. It'd be exactly.
He's not a good
the same
football player. He's never going to be a top quarterback in the NFL.
He doesn't make the play when you need it,
No.
right? There's just so many other guys around him that do.
Yeah. Okay, let's finish with some predictions for next week. We play in Green Bay. It's probably going to be snowing and -25.
See if you have the weather.
Not necessarily favorable to Russell Wilson coming off injury and wanting to throw the ball more. But can we get a win? I'm assuming we are.
Rodgers will still be out.
That's
I'm
a
not
big question
I'm
mark.
not 100%
2 weeks,
sure.
right?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what the protocol is, but you have to like test negative. Do you just test negative? I don't know.
I thought I heard somebody say that as soon as he'd be back would be, I guess they go on a bye the week after this, don't they? I think that's what's happening.
Maybe Packers.
Yeah. I think Seattle wins in Green Bay. I think they've been needing a road trip here.
So apparently, Rodgers, he can come off the reserve list by Saturday if he has no symptoms or anything. So it's
And
all
he
up in
tests
the air.
negative, so he could play.
So he could play. Yeah, well, he hasn't been practicing though. So I think that comes into play too. I like Seattle in it. I think if Russell's back, I like their chances in Green Bay.
Score.
24-14.
Low.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Seattle
The
defense is
snow.
going to hold them to 14.
I think so.
Carl?
So see, -2 and snowing.
-2 and snowing.
Dude, that's warm in Green Bay.
That's really warm. Yeah.
that should be a low scoring then. I'd expect to see a lot of turnovers. Michael Dixon will get a couple punts inside the 20.
MVP this year.
Yep.
I think if Aaron Rodgers plays, we're in trouble. I think it all depends on that.
Okay, you're allowed to give 2 scores. Go. Aaron Rodgers plays.
I'll say 27-21 Packers.
Okay. Aaron Rodgers doesn't play.
21-14 Seattle.
21-14.
Yeah. I think Seattle's offense.
Nobody's kicking a field goal.
No one's
No.
kicking field goal.
I
Not in
was
the
gonna-
snow.
Okay, if Rodgers plays, it'll be 27-24 field goal to win at the end of the game
Nice.
For
Arizona. Or sorry, for Aaron Rodgers for Green Bay.
Green Bay.
Yeah. I think it'll be close. I think Rodgers, maybe he lies and says he's got no symptoms. Now he's playing sick.
Ooh. There's so many
I don't
factors.
think you can lie. I think they're testing
Well, he
him
did
like
lie, though. He
aggressively.
did lie already, though. He was immunized.
I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's... I think Seattle wins on the road. That's my gut telling me. That's my fan intuition telling me. I think if we're going to do this 7-2, I think something clicks. And I think Russ coming back will bring a huge uplift in that locker room. And guys will rise to the occasion. I don't know.
All of us would love. That's a dream for sure.
Yeah.
I say 27-24 Seahawks.
Wow. The field goal.
Yeah.
I don't think our defense is good enough to win a close game, low scoring game.
Mm.
So I think we have to put up points to win. And if you know me, I don't care if our team is 0-16. I'm going to pick the Seahawks to win.
Yeah.
So
Because you know they're going to win one.
it's just, in good years, when we're really good, I'm
It's
usually
so-
picking like 10 or 15 or 14 point spreads.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And in shitty years, I'm picking 1 to 3 point wins.
Oh, yeah. Definitely take the under this weekend for sure.
What is the spread?
Probably 44.5 or no, probably 54.5. Or the over under, sorry.
54, I would take under for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope, 49.
40,
That's close.
25,
Oh.
25. Yeah.
So Green Bay is currently favored by 4 and a 49.5 over under. I guess that is not knowing if Rodgers is playing. So what did I say? 27-24.
24.
That's 51 points.
Yeah.
So I'm saying over. I don't know, man. It's funny how dependent on weather it is. If it is
Yeah.
actually snowing, the game will be totally different than if it's just -2 and clear.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
I wish I hope it snows. Those are fun games to watch. Like it's
Yeah, but it's not necessarily conducive to a Seahawks victory.
no,
That's the
no,
problem.
but that's the thing, right? Like, yeah.
And we still don't have Chris Carson, right? No.
I don't think so. Didn't he fracture something?
He's something in his neck and it's just been bothering him.
Chris Carson. Oh, pinched nerve.
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Collins is good though. I like watching Collins.
I do too.
And Penny played a little bit last week.
The last two, they're trying to get him in.
That
like-
guy is like a cardboard box.
Glass cannons everywhere.
I like Penny. Comes up.
How do you
with-
like him though?
I just like he in some situations like, third and 2, he's always seemed to, when they give him the ball, he just, I don't know. He
He's
gets,
a strong runner.
Mhm.
yeah.
He's just never playing football. That's the problem.
Well, that's the thing. I think in Seattle, when you had your running backs, you filter through them. They may not tell you when they're injured, and they're still going to get filtered through, right? I think that's the problem with Seattle is guys are playing hurt and they're just trying to keep playing, or nagging little injuries, and
It's not his fault. It's like it's not Penny's fault. It's just a shitty position,
yeah.
right? Like regardless of who you
Yeah.
are, you're the best running back in the league, Derrick Henry.
Mm-hmm.
You fucking break your foot one game, you can't play for the whole year.
And you lose your MVP.
Yeah.
Just like that.
It's a crazy sport. That's why we watch it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Every single week is so
Something
different, man.
crazy
This week
happens.
was nuts.
Yeah.
This week was crazy. The Jacksonville Jaguars, one of the worst sports franchises in history.
What are the other games
Beat the
on tap
Bills.
here? Let's see what they have.
This week,
Because I want to see if we can predict like another crazy what the
Upset?
heck moment. Yeah.
are you on the Jacksonville Jaguars bandwagon?
No, I was on the Trevor Lawrence bandwagon because I watched him in college, and it's like, it'd be cool to see him turn that team around. I think he will turn the team around. It's just not going to be this year.
Thursday night, do you think the Dolphins can beat the Ravens?
Oof, that'll be one of those ones where it's just a dud on a Thursday.
Tennessee, New Orleans could be interesting because Tennessee's looked really good the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Could lose.
Las Vegas at
Could
New
you
York.
imagine, dude? The Bills are playing the Jets this week. Could you imagine if they lost back to back to the Jags and the Jets?
Oh
Do
God,
you fold the franchise at that point, or what?
I think at that point you just give up. Everyone gets shipped out.
that was that.
Start over. New 53-man roster.
Yeah. Practice squad, you're being promoted.
Josh Allen.
Tampa, Washington, Detroit at Pittsburgh. Oh, Pittsburgh's got a short week because Chicago's got the.
The
They're
NFL
bye,
is
right?
so
They're
crazy,
at the
man.
bye now because they just had this game here tonight.
You look at all these games and you have no idea which one is going to be the upset. No idea. Right? San Fran could beat the Rams on Monday night.
Yep.
Who knows?
I bet you. I think Vegas
Beats KC.
beats KC. Yeah. This is the way they're playing. They're just not clicking.
Arizona,
And I think-
Carolina. Is
Isn't Vegas? Oh no, they're 1-1 without Gruden now.
Yeah.
He's
is-
back.
McCaffrey's back?
Yeah.
So that could be an interesting game.
Philly, Denver.
Panthers in Arizona.
It'll be more interesting for sure. I don't know. Kyler Murray should be back too
Is he going to be back?
because he didn't play this
What
week.
did he do?
Was it his hand?
That Detroit Pittsburgh game too. Detroit could come into Pittsburgh and upset him.
Pittsburgh's not good.
I know.
Ankle injury. He's questionable.
Okay.
He should be back.
Tampa, Washington. Washington will win by 40.
Brady will throw for 8.
8 picks.
8 touchdowns. He'll surpass some record of some sort of, 4,000 more spiral spins of the ball in a game this weekend or something.
Some made up thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he'll have the most boring interview of all time after the game.
Yeah, big shout out to the guys up front.
Yeah.
They gave me the time.
Fucking hate that guy. I like this guy.
He's funny. He's so animated.
If we fire Pete, I want to go hard after Mike Tomlin.
Think Tallman's just going to bounce from Pittsburgh?
Hard.
He's going to leave Pittsburgh?
Well, I don't know. They're not having a good year. Anyway, okay, let's get out of here.
Perfect.
Oh, how do you?
We're wrapping up.
Oh,
On to the next. We've given our predictions.
okay.
We are fired up about a Seahawks W. Oh, I mean, at this point in the season, who the fuck knows? But we're optimistic.
We've already won this weekend in Green Bay.
And that's all that matters. We're going to enjoy ourselves. It's a 1:00 game,
Yeah,
I believe.
125.
Probably have a nice cold beer on a Sunday afternoon.
Nice.
Life doesn't get much
Doesn't
better
get any
unless
better.
we make the playoffs, and then it would get a little bit better.
Well, thanks for having me on.
Matt, you're welcome back anytime, man. It's
Thank
awesome.
you. I liked it. Let's do it again.